If you have not already and are curious, there is a song entitled 60 Miles. It's by a rapper named Little RT. And in summary, the song is about sex, violence, and has a high usage of expletives. So if you're interested in that kind of music, you should definitely check it out. And I'll place the lyrics of that song on the screen. Remember, this is adult content, so probably don't read this if you are not an adult because of how extremely vulgar these lyrics are. And apparently anything vulgar is adult related, it's adult themes, like adult films and adult stores. You get the point. Anything for, I guess, adults is a set apart series of content which only we can have and access because, well, I don't know. Especially considering that adult films like pornography, for example, especially because pornography and just constantly being inundated with it, or just pornographic material, pornographic imagery, lyricism. I mean, I don't think that's good for our brains. We're constantly being inundated with sex. And according to neurosciencenews.com, in this article entitled Watching Pornography Rewires the Brain to a More Juvenile State, this written December 29th, 2019, it states, in the long term, pornography seems to create sexual dysfunctions, especially the inability to achieve erection or orgasm with a real-life partner. Marital quality and commitment to one's romantic partner also appear to be compromised. To try to explain these effects, some scientists have drawn parallels between porn consumption and substance abuse. Through evolutionary design, the brain is wired to respond to sexual stimulation with surges of dopamine. This neurotransmitter, most often associated with reward anticipation, also acts to program memories and information into the brain. This adaptation means that when the body requires something like food or sex, the brain remembers where to return to experience the same pleasure. Instead of turning to a romantic partner for sexual gratification or fulfillment, habituated porn users instinctively reach for their phones and laptops when desire comes calling. Furthermore, unnaturally strong explosions of reward and pleasure evoke unnaturally strong degrees of habituation in the brain. Psychiatrist Norman Doge explains, quote, pornography satisfies every one of the prerequisites for neuroplastic change. When pornographers boast that they are pushing the envelope by introducing new, harder themes, what they don't say is that they must because their customers are building up a tolerance to the content, unquote. Porn scenes, like addictive substances, are hyper-stimulating triggers that lead to unnaturally high levels of dopamine secretion. This can damage the dopamine reward system and leave it unresponsive to natural sources of pleasure. This is why users begin to experience difficulty in achieving arousal with a physical partner. The desensitization of our reward circuitry sets the stage for sexual dysfunctions to develop, but the repercussions don't end there. Studies show that changes in the transmission of dopamine can facilitate depression and anxiety. In agreement with this observation, porn consumers report greater depressive symptoms, lower quality of life, and poorer mental health compared to those who don't watch porn. The other compelling finding in this study is that compulsive porn consumers find themselves wanting and needing more porn, even though they don't necessarily like it. This disconnect between wanting and liking is a hallmark feature of reward circuitry dysregulation. Following a similar line of inquiry, researchers at the Max Planck Institute in Berlin, Germany found that higher porn use correlated with less brain activation in response to conventional pornographic imagery. This explains why users tend to graduate to more extreme and unconventional forms of porn. Pornhub analytics reveal that conventional sex is decreasingly interesting to users and is being replaced by themes like incest and violence. The perpetuation of sexual violence online is particularly troubling, as rates of real-life incidences may escalate as a result. Some scientists attribute this relationship to the action of mirror neurons. These brain cells are aptly named because they fire when the individual performs an action, but also while observing the same action performed by someone else. The regions of the brain that are active when someone is viewing porn are the same regions of the brain that are active while the person is actually having sex. Marco Iacoboni, a professor of psychiatry at University of California, Los Angeles, speculates that these systems have the potential to spread violent behavior. Though speculative, this suggested association between porn, mirror neurons, and increased rates of sexual violence serves as an ominous warning. While high porn consumption may not drive viewers to harrowing extremes, it is likely to change behavior in other ways. It's somewhat paradoxical that adult entertainment may revert our brain wiring to a more juvenile state. The much greater irony is that while porn promises to satisfy and provide sexual gratification, it delivers the opposite. If you want more of the article, which is entitled "Watching Pornography Rewires the Brain to a More Juvenile State," this written on December 29, 2019. I just read excerpts. According to Canopy.us, it states that pornography can damage the brain, influence our relationships, rewires our brain, and tricks the brain. If you want more information, go to its article entitled, "What Does Porn Do to Your Brain? 3 Effects of Porn on the Mind." It's by Canopy.us. And we as a collective are exposed to pornographic content without actually having to watch porn. Anything from our lyrics, music videos, it's just ever inundated sex and nothing beyond that. And you may think, so what? We're adults. We should have access to that kind of content. But considering how that sort of content affects brain usage, how it could be compared to substance addiction, I don't think it's helping our brains any more than anyone else. And so why can't we have content that actually elevates our minds, makes us want to live, and espouses whether values or stimuli that makes our brain matter increase and not default to a juvenile state? Why can't we have content that makes our intelligence increase, makes our creativity increase, and just causes us as a demographic to rise out of our nightmarish bubble? And instead, what we're doing is we're being exposed to a high level of content that supports substance abuse, which is dangerous, hypersexual activity, which is dangerous, not just chemically in altering our brain, but also in terms of it's unsafe. And our content tends to be about violence, which is dangerous, I would think, and you don't get to see much else. It's just sex, porn, essentially porn, and chaos. All day, every day, as adults. And you wonder why we are not a soft, tender, fragile, family-friendly people. You wonder why, if all we ever see is some form of trauma, some form of chaos, high-risk behaviors being perpetuated, why we're not a community-oriented people, or people that even feel safe being around each other or are at peace. We're already in our lived environments compromised. And then that's multiplied by this ingesting stimuli, which is altering our sense of reality. something that I observe is that all we have is, quote, adult content. Yet, as adults, not all of us want to watch said content. So is it really adult, or is it high-risk content that apparently we're of age to consume, and we're constantly having to consume this? And how is this desensitizing our brains and affecting our role and compromising us as people that, well, let's just be honest, if we're going to be adults, part of that role is to steward the earth and its inhabitants and protecting those most vulnerable to us. Yes, vulnerable adults exist, but they're not more vulnerable than the people they have to raise and nurture and the people that they have to teach, and that is the children and the babies. We are, as adults, supposed to govern little children, teenagers, babies. We're supposed to lead them in ways that are productive. And if we're being compromised by certain activity and certain lyrics and stimuli, then what kind of people are we raising? What kind of world are we creating or inhabiting? It's my viewpoint that we are, because we don't have family-friendly content, we are not a family-friendly people. We don't get to see in stimuli families. And how is that affecting our brain? We don't get to see in stimuli things that incentivize childhood, incentivize peace and tenderness and joy, love, things that all humans should encompass. And it just makes us appear like a people with no morality or values. Everything is deranged and lower nature and primal for us, rather than humane and kind and innocent. And I want to say that as per Complex, the artist who sings the song whose lyrics are being displayed on the screen, do you want to know how old he is? He's not 50 years old. He's not 39 years old. He's not a man. And even if a man at that age was to sing lyrics like these, I would think, man, when are our people going to grow out of this chaotic thinking? Unfortunately, the person who sings this song isn't even a decade old. He is 9 years old. A 9-year-old child is speaking in such a vulgar way. And of course, this makes me think of him as without a father, without even a mother or a real parental figure who could steer him in the right direction, unless the people who birthed him are already compromised. And so what does this make us look like as people who are supposed to be the parents of the younger generation, us adults? What does it make us look like when our offspring, our children, our little ones, instead of being and embracing innocence, they are embracing the same chaotic themes that are destroying the rest of us? It makes us look like this kid is just there. He was just brought out of the ground. He has no context to any humanity, anyone around him. He looks essentially like a familyless individual. And our collective looks family-less. They look like there is no context to home, familyhood, family-friendliness, something that is raising us. It's like this guy was raised in a laboratory. It's like he was raised in an isolated desert rather than being connected to a community of human resources who are guiding him in an effective way. This image and the many images where we're associated with never show us as actual adults, let's just be honest. Because if you want to equate hypersexuality with achieving adulthood, then why is it only promoted to us? And yes, there are a lot of nuclear families being promoted to other demographics. What is the incentive even for having children if they're going to come out like this? What is the incentive for the men and women in your demographic if they're not marriageable? What are we even here for? People are continuing to breed and without any order. And then children like this, unfortunately, there are many within our collective. They are compromised, so I do not necessarily blame them, but the environment that's raising them. And so it's just terroristic and chaotic everywhere we go. So what is the point of life? What is the point for us to exist? What is the point of reproduction? What is the point of children? What is the point of the people around us if we can't harvest these people as resources in a way that is not just consuming them, but in a way that benefits them? Not exploits them, not abuses them, but in a way that allows them to benefit and grow and mature into healthy adult people. What is the point of life for us if our children are not even going to grow up to be speaking in an adult manner, in an explicit manner, but be children speaking in an explicit manner? If others wanted to look at us and say, wow, those people have zero substance, they have zero empathy and zero love, and look at what they even do to their children. We're always displayed in this circus-like way. And there's another image of this woman who tattooed. I know these are supposed to be fake tattoos, but she's basically engineering him to look like, well, a monstrosity. With all these false tattoos over a toddler. We're turning them into an image that those of us who are in the adult world shouldn't even aspire to. There's nothing in our demographic when we see images like these, and it's constantly inundating us, that gives us any incentive to promote righteousness, innocence, tenderness, peace, love, morality, hope, joy. All the things that pretty much I associate with everyone else, we don't get to have it. This stuff, it's actually making it look like this is our nature to be chaotic, and personally, it makes us look creepy. Among other things, it's just completely disturbed. It's not going to make me think, man, I got to protect my race. I got to love my race. No, this makes me hate our race. Hearing a child's voice to lyrics like that it's just devil stuff. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for more.